Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're an education professional, a board member, or an executive eyeing the current schooling landscape in India, you already know the rules of the game are completely changing. We're talking about a massive, rapid pivot away from traditional, isolated teaching models right into a highly dynamic environment that absolutely demands operational excellence. Let's dive into it.
So here's the bottom line right up front. To actually get good learning results today, teachers and principals just aren't only educating in the classroom anymore. Nope, they're expected to run the whole institution. They've got to be decision makers, resource managers, culture builders, the whole shebang. It's a total paradigm shift. Basically, we're asking our educators to step up as real-deal executives to help these schools flourish in a wildly evolving system.
To respect your time, here's our roadmap for today's briefing. We'll cover India's shifting education landscape, the NEP 2020 mandate, decoding school governance frameworks, navigating core leadership challenges, and finally, strategies for executive success.
All right, Part 1, India's shifting education landscape.
Think about the modern portfolio of an educational leader today. With expanding responsibilities, it's really no longer just about, finalizing a syllabus. Strong leadership now directly dictates student success, teacher motivation, and institutional growth. As a school leader right now, you're tasked with building a positive culture from the absolute ground up. You're supporting other teachers to become leaders, managing tight resources effectively, and encouraging inclusive leadership. Honestly, it's a full-scale executive management role.
Moving on to Section 2, the NEP 2020 mandate.
Now, the contrast between the past and the present is pretty stark here. Under the old expectations, the focus was super siloed, right? Purely on educating within the four walls of the classroom. But the NEP 2020 expectations fundamentally shift that role from just academic to highly strategic. The policy essentially recognizes that if we want the education system to improve, the folks on the ground literally need a seat at the decision-making table. They have to actually help run the school.
And to make that happen, the policy explicitly demands skilled leaders who can drive systemic change. So, the NEP 2020 reform focus zeroes in on professional development specifically for school leaders. It's changing school administration and expanding principal leadership training across the board. The government is basically saying, hey, we can't modernize our curriculum if we don't first modernize our administrative leadership. Makes sense, right?
Okay, Section 3, decoding school governance frameworks.
So, what are we talking about here? School governance is simply the set of rules, responsibilities, and processes that help manage and hold schools accountable. For any executive listening, you know that governance is the engine of accountability. Without it, well, even your absolute best educational strategies are going to fail just because there's no system in place to execute them properly.
Take a look at this comprehensive, multi-tiered ecosystem. You've got the principal and senior leadership team right at the nexus, handling the curriculum, daily management, and ultimate accountability. But they definitely don't operate in a vacuum. They have to interface upwards with the school governing body or management committee, outwards with parents and community representatives, all while strictly complying with education department authorities. Managing all those distinct stakeholder groups, that requires some serious executive finesse. Ultimately, when you navigate this ecosystem effectively, it ensures that your school management remains transparent, ethical, and just better. Good governance promotes transparency, ethical leadership, and better administration. When the rules are clear, it literally frees up educators to focus on what matters most: institutional growth and student outcomes.
Which brings us to Part 4, navigating core leadership challenges.
Of course, pivoting an entire landscape creates friction, and different environments mean vastly different hurdles. In private schools, the specific leadership challenge is often navigating complex governance structures. Meanwhile, leaders in government schools are just drowning in heavy administrative burdens. And system-wide, this shared challenge is a severe lack of structured accountability and limited access to training. These are massive operational bottlenecks, guys.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, strategies for executive success.
Overcoming these hurdles requires immediate intentional action. We really can't wait for leaders to just organically figure it out on the fly. Educators must actively acquire these executive skills. The steps are pretty clear. 1. Enroll in school leadership courses. 2. Learn effective governance strategies so you aren't flying blind with your management committee. 3. Actively enhance your decision-making skills. And 4. Pursue official management certification.
Fortunately, the infrastructure to support this is actually growing. Platforms like Booty offer specialized management certification and expert-led training built specifically for this exact pivot. Whether you're a teacher stepping up into administration or a veteran principal aiming for true operational excellence under the new NEP guidelines, leaning on expert-led platforms is honestly the fastest way to close that system-wide training gap.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a single, pressing question to take back to your boardrooms today. Is your leadership team actually ready for the future of Indian education? The mandate is here, the responsibilities have absolutely exploded, and the era of the educator executive has officially arrived. It is time to ensure your institution has the leadership it takes to thrive. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep pushing for operational excellence.